Something about you, baby. Something about you. Something about you.
Howdy, hey everyone. Thanks so much for hanging out here so early. You are fantastic. I appreciate seeing all of those hellos in the chat across both Twitch and YouTube. We're going to be jumping in here soon. 1/5 of the way to analyze. Yes, absolutely, Finn. Looking forward to it. We are going to be diving in here soon. Bezos will demand his due. And then we'll be diving in. You are fantastic, Tom Millman. You are fantastic. We will be right in, right after the ads. Thanks so much for hanging out. Hello, everybody. How are we doing on this wonderful Friday Eve, which is Weekend Eve? How are we doing? It's so good to see you all. How are we doing? Welcome on in. Karazest, Mothman Centaur, Yeti Doc Phil, Pokejohn Jack, Tom Millman, Finn, Inspector Gadget, Owl in the Brush, and 2D Fighter. Hello. Welcome in, everyone. It is such a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for hanging out so quick and early here. Oh, man, I feel jazzed. I feel all ready to go. How's everybody been doing? Tom, I'm glad you're feeling fantastic. Finn, we're getting closer. Can't wait to see what you suggest. How is it going? My 2 other kids will be home tonight. My pops will be in. I'm excited. Nice. Got good feedback on that walk animation. Good. I'm so glad to hear it, 2D Fighter. I can't wait for the fam to be back in town. How tremendously exciting. You got a theme song? You do. You do have a theme song. In the same way that Foolbox has the Fez. You know, these things, they just happen. I'm so excited. How are you and the little ones in Wife Quest? We're doing great. Littlest one, slept all the way through the night last night. For those of you who are not parents, you cannot possibly fathom the momentous occasion that is. My older child has a birthday, but I don't know it. I just know the day that she first slept through the night. This is the biggest thing to happen ever. I'm so excited about it. Oh, Wife Quest. Yes. We both woke up and we're like, did you get up with him last night? No. Did you? No. I'm jelly. Oh, I know, 2D Fighter, but it's coming. It's coming. I know twins is a different beast. I'm sure. But at some point they've got to, right? Like, it's got to happen at some point. Inspector Gadget, yes. Go, little man, absolutely. Karazest, yay. Oh, man, what is new and exciting in everyone's lives? I want to hear about it. I want to hear how everyone's projects are doing. I've got my spreadsheet up and running to cross-reference everything, make sure that I know everyone and what we're all doing, what we're all up to. We are 3 followers away from 400 followers on Twitch, which is tremendously exciting. And we're like, what are we at now? Less than 30 subscribers away from 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Pretty freaking exciting. Very, very cool. It's absolutely wild seeing this community start to kind of pull together and form seemingly out of the ether, because we're all here to just celebrate game dev with each other and try to do impossible things. I don't know what is really more beautiful than that I have ever done in my professional career. And I've worked on software that literally saved people's lives. And it never had the same feeling as what we're all doing here and what you're all doing. So thank you. Potty training comes next, so still got to get up at midnight. Cubus, hey, welcome on in, friend. How are you today? Okay. My goodness. 30 subs by next Friday. Let's go. Yeah, it's not impossible we hit 30 before Monday at the rate we're going. So that'll be exciting. I've spent the morning writing up and trying to plan out a big script for the Pokemon as like a Big Mac video and trying to find all sorts of different sources and tie everything together. So that's being fun. I'm really excited for that video. Partly because I get to cook really cool hamburgers while I do it, but also because I think it's going to be a really cool video and I think it's going to reach a lot of people and bring a lot of new folks in that, haven't really considered game design, haven't considered game dev, haven't considered all those sorts of things. And eventually, we really need to expand out into like audio and get some real professionals in here to talk about that sort of stuff, because I'm so clueless as far as that all goes. Clip that for inspirational video lecture. Clip what, Owl? Started Hades today. Oh, the first one. Oh, rad, Cubus. I can't wait to hear how that goes for you. Yeah, the first Hades is so good. I mean, it's so good. And the second one is even better, if you'll believe it. It's really phenomenal. My favorite thing about Hades that I have yet to see almost anyone do is the boon to start the run off. I don't know why this is so hard for roguelikes to like understand, but you need an anchor. After that first run, you need an anchor for people to build around. And it blows my mind that people aren't doing that more. The getting that anchor, first blessing, accompanied by a very easy room to just kind of play around with it and see how it is. Oh my gosh, brilliant. It's fantastic. We have a holiday today, which is nice. Mighty Nate. We are, so we're going to get to what we're going to be working on here in a little bit. We are definitely going to be working on click stuff because we got a little baby checkmark on there the other day, yesterday. But we kind of just got systems up and running, functionality-wise. So now I want to start diving into, like, how do I make this feel as good as possible? And we're going to look at a couple of different resources to see how that goes. Because this little particle effect, it's cool, and it definitely helps. But it's not anywhere near where it could be, right? So we've got a lot to do there. And then after that, I need to work on making the powers feel a lot better. I got to work on making the enemy turn actually, like, happen. There's a lot left to do. And then as well, I'm thinking of kind of completely revising the UI. And I don't know. We'll see. We'll see about all that. Focusing on the clicks for now. Rotwood does it. Rotwood has the anchoring? Good for Rotwood. That was something that we did in Moon Hollow that I was incredibly proud of, and it was before Hades, I think, came out. Ooh, when was Hades' release date? Hades 1 release date. 2020. Yeah, this would have been before Hades' release date. So that's my call to fame, is I had a good idea that somebody else who made a very successful game also had. The emotional community appreciation. Well, hopefully there's a lot more where that comes from down the line, because none of this is possible without any of you. And if I'm not doing that like frequently to the point where it's kind of obnoxious, I'm probably failing. Off-Grid Game Dev, hello. Robotech, hello. Welcome in, both of you. Good to see you. How are you doing today? Trash of the Titans also kind of does it, since you get your first boon during the first fight. What's Trash of the Titans? What on earth is this? Turn-based fantasy tactics with trash animals? Hold on. What is this? All right, this is an early access. All right, what's this trailer? Okay, so it's Final Fantasy Tactics. What, the roguelike? I don't see roguelike in their tags. Feels very arcadey, which is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. Feels like they had an aesthetic, they knew what they wanted to do, and they have aimed for it, and they have hit it, in my opinion. Being intentional about your aesthetic is always going to be better than having high-fidelity graphics. We in Tetris now? What was that? Okay. What on earth? Wait, hold on. Was that like a mutated rat? Okay. Be creative and try to not die. Cool. Well, that's a new one for my wish list. Thank you, Cubus. Oh, we lost the pacifier. Hold on. Emergency code P. Okay. There we go. You got it? You got it? Okay, I think we're good. I'm going to say it again. I don't think I've played a roguelike where you don't basically start off with a relic or boon. I disagree, Jack. Like, even... Okay, so here's the thing. You mentioned Slay the Spire in the past, and I think we're going to just have to agree to disagree on that one. Because they do give you that relic. Also, only if you get to the first boss, which I think is dumb. Like, why? Why do you fail harder if if you fail. Like, I hate that. And then it drastically disincentivizes experimentation and everything. I think it's a dumb idea. Which is like maybe the only thing I can say is a dumb idea on Slay the Spire. Everything else is freaking brilliant. But the relics in Slay the Spire, with only a couple exceptions, do not really define your boon, or don't define your build. They don't give you something really to build around. It's like just random, like, oh, okay, I got 2 basic cards removed from my deck. Okay, cool. That's not enough to build around. Art, sound, and storytelling. Yeah, 2D5. And honestly, even production. It'd be great to have a producer in here and talk about how do they manage a team and keep scope in check and everything. That would all be great. The electric kind of looks like water splashes now, combined with the deflating animation. Hilarious, Cubus. Super cute game, cool dev, and also made in Godot. Very nice, very nice. Where a boon is attacked does 50% more damage. Yeah, I mean, for sure. Like, those do exist, right? I don't debate that at all. But I do feel that Hades has more gameplay changing boons than Slay the Spire has gameplay changing relics. And, that could just be me being too distanced from Slay the Spire. Absolutely crap. Got an email from OnlyBots. I don't know what that is, Finn. What's are they the people that make your console that you're building for? Let's take a look at the relics for Slay the Spire. We'll go Ironclad. So we have our starter relics, right? At the end of combat, heal 6 HP. That's not necessarily a lot to build around. You could maybe make an argument for it. At the start of each combat, draw 2 additional cards. Once again, I mean, these are meant to be generic, right? They're supposed to be generic, and they do their job because they need to be flexible enough to allow you to like build kind of what you want. I respect that, and I think that's a good idea. It's more about the cards changing the playstyle. Yes, Cubus, I agree. And obviously there are some exceptions, right? Like once we go to like these bigger ones, like getting plated armor kind of changes things quite a lot, right? Like that's a pretty big change. Let me actually go to the browser. Plated armor will change how you can approach things decently. Ice cream, right? Energy is now conserved between turns. You can start going for higher value cards. You can start going more defensive. Like those things help. But I feel like most of the time what you get is like, although Pen Nib is actually pretty cool. I actually really like Pen Nib. Every 10th attack you play deals double damage. But like gaining 2 potion slots, whenever you rest, you can add a card to your deck. First time you lose hit points each combat, draw 3 cards. Like these are not really build defining things, right? And they're common relics. Excuse me. I get that. I'm not faulting them for being common, but it's not enough for me to build something around. It doesn't give me a hint as to like what direction should I go. It's a social media platform that only has bots. What? What is that, Finn? Alex, hello, welcome in. Good to see ya. Code P, I break the glass box with the hammer, grab the keys, open the safe, grab the pacifier, and slide to home base, taking enemy fire with my last breath, pass you the pacifier. My thanks, 2D Fighter. We will repay the debt. Tori and Fossilized Helix, and Gambling, and an Incense Burner. Okay, so like, whenever you would receive 5 or less unblocked damage, reduce it to 1. Yes, very powerful. How do I like make a build around that, though? And then, are you saying like you have to combine Tori and Gambling Chip? Where's Gambling Chip? Right here. At the start of each combat, discard any number of cards, then draw that many. Like, that's not a build. If that were like every turn you can mulligan, and then you have cards that like allow you to, like on discard gain bonuses and stuff. Yeah, okay, I can maybe start seeing that, but that feels pretty niche, right? Incense Burner. Let's see, where's Incense Burner? That one's not coming to mind immediately. What was Incense Burner? No, you're not gonna let me just search for it. Of course not. Why would you? Let's see. Where's Incense Burner? I don't know what this one looks like, so it's gonna take me a minute. to find. Is it? Oh man. What is incense burner? Come on. Come on. Come on. Okay. All right. All right. Slay the Spire incense burner. Oh, right. Of course. It's the teapot. Why wouldn't I have hovered over that one? Every 6 turn, gain 1 intangible. Like, that's also cool. It doesn't feel like enough to make a build out of. Dead Cells also gives you a fancy weapon to start. That's true, Cubis. That's true. How's the overload progress? It's coming. We got the functionality built in to bring in VFX into the clicks and kind of randomize them a little bit. So we're going to be looking at a bunch of different, what are the different layers of polish we can add onto this thing and start actually applying a creative eye. We're going to try and define a color palette. Today probably would be a good idea, and kind of go from there. I just feel like you're being biased towards Hades at this point. I may say I have not played a huge amount of this game, but so far I've only encountered boons that basically just increase my damage. They don't change my playstyle because the game is mainly just skill-based. Jack, I can understand what you're saying. I 100% understand what you're saying. And this is where I do feel Hades kind of suffers, is that they don't get you to the juicy stuff quickly enough. And so a lot of my stuff, a lot of my interpretation of Hades is coming after playing it for like 75 hours, right? And when you get to that point, you have quite a lot of meta progression. And when you get to that meta progression, you're getting a lot more of the rarer boons, which do a lot of cool stuff. The common things, I'll agree with you. Like, your attack deals more damage. I mean, at least it inflicts weak. So there's at least that. But, like, dealing a little bit more damage, I don't know. I mean, it's nice because you do have different vectors, right? You have attack, special, and cast. So now if you get, like, a really high rarity attack boon, you're like, okay, I'm going to be focused on attacks, and I'm going to leave my specials and my cast maybe a little bit behind. I'm going to really dial in on the attacks. I mean, I think that is different, right? That gives me something to start building into more, and I appreciate that. That being said, there are, I feel, much more boons that change how Hades plays than there are relics that change how Slay the Spire plays. The relics, in my opinion, are mostly like, wow, that's really cool. Like, Shuriken is a great example of one that changes the way you play it, right? This is a build-defining relic. Every time you play 3 attacks in a single turn, gain 1 strength. I am now gunning for as many cheap attacks and card draw and everything as fast as I possibly can, right? That's a fantastic, fantastic relic. Even this one, whenever you play a power card, a random card in your hand costs 0 that turn, Mummified Hand, that's also pretty good. Like, those are pretty good. I would argue Frozen Egg, not as good in the terms of defining a build. It's a very strong ability. Whenever you add a power card to your deck, it's automatically upgrade. That's great. It just doesn't tell me how to build something. And then Hades, we have a lot of things like your call now fires a seeking projectile that charms enemies, right? So it's not just increased damage. It's increased damage and inflict a status, or it is change the behavior and inflict a status, right? So it's kind of multivariate in that way. That's where I'm coming from. I can respect if you don't feel that way. And like I said, I do feel that they lock a lot of it behind higher rarity boons that only show up after you've got a lot of meta progression. And I'm feeling the same way in Hades 2, to be fair. I feel like they're really slowing you down and really impressing that meta progression on you. Not my favorite thing. But, you know, my problem is that how I'm going to play isn't really going to change. I'm literally going to dash and occasionally cast and spam either attack or special. I mean, I disagree, Jack. Like, if you get an epic cast, right, and it's now a wide short-range blast instead of a narrow long-range projectile, like, you're going to be running around doing 80% extra damage with your cast and blasting dudes with your love shotgun constantly. I mean, I don't know how that doesn't change your playstyle. Mighty Nate, I just saw someone earlier today making a build with weak and using cast, doing more damage in cast. Actually, on one of their first runs in Hades 2. Okay. Yeah, and so, like, you are now throwing your... And that's Hades 2, right? We're talking about Hades 1, but in Hades 2, yeah, you throw your circular cast down, and then you just start blasting your casts out, and, you know... That's different because that adds an entirely new layer on top of the your cast, which is having the extra damage while you're inside of it. That doesn't exist natively. So that changes behavior, right? The one game that really does not fear changing playstyles. Wizards of Legends. Oh man. This is one that I admittedly have not actually played. It's been on my list for a long time, but I haven't actually played it. I hear it's fantastic. It's on my list. I need to play it at some point. But yeah, I haven't actually tried it for myself. Let's see. We have relics here. Direct an arcing stream of water. Okay. Yeah, because like I would imagine all these different spells that you get are like literally changing. It's like the difference between having like a sniper rifle and a shotgun, right? Like those are obviously going to be very different playstyles by necessity. I definitely saw how taking Aphrodite's cast inflicting weak boon informing the next decisions the player took for their build. Interesting, Mighty. I'm curious what the relics are for Wizard of Legend. Whoa. Whoa. All right, what? Are you wanting a little bit more space? Increases all damage dealt, crit hit chance. Immediately pressing forward into an attack will guard the attack while healing you and stunning enemies nearby. That sounds crazy. Damage and stuns are increased, but movement speed is reduced for each cursed relic owned. Interesting. Small chance to evade, reduce cooldowns, increase armor. I mean, I'm not seeing anything that's like crazy wild. I mean, not that's not really true. There are some things that have been kind of interesting about it, but what? Okay. Should we try the last little bit of the bottle? Avoid all attacks for a short while after taking damage. Like that's like nice, but it's not really a build, you know? Can confirm it's very good in that regard, Alex. Okay, all right, fair. Too bad I have a condition that doesn't allow me past boss 2. It's called skill issue. Is it roguelite or roguelike? Like, is there meta progression in it to kind of get you further along? This is a lot of relics. Jiminy. That's a lot. Oh, man. Can I talk about one of my biggest pet peeves in game design? Can I talk about it? Elemental resistances. Oh, man. I hate elemental resistances because they're almost always completely opaque. There's no way that you know what is happening with elemental resistances in 99% of all games without just opening a stat panel and looking at it and having the ability to internalize what those numbers mean. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. Inspector Gadget, you asked for a hat. Hold on. Let's get a hat going. The relics aren't the significant playstyle changers except maybe cursed ones. I mean, I could see that. It seems like the spells are definitely the big deal, right? I'm gonna get lucky on this. Arcana, okay. Yeah, like something like this I think can work. But you have to like be very clear about what type each enemy is. And then ideally you also have visual feedback that things are or are not hitting right. Like so I tried my first run of Poke Rogue today to do some research for this video. And I ended up looking up an element chart for like which things are strong against which things. You know what I found? This. How did we allow this to happen? How did we allow the beautiful simplicity of Pokemon to become this? And then you can have multiple types. So now it's like the triple. Like this is the most reasonable one that I was able to find. But even still, it's just like this huge. Listen, like how are you ever going to know that a dragon type is going to be vulnerable to ice? Like, why? Because it's a reptile? Like, it's so opaque. So then a lot of the heavy lifting has to go into the world and the UI because it's not going to make intuitive sense. So you have to communicate it to the player somehow, and nobody does it. It drives me batty. Boss elemental resistance, all special items. very clear in that regard. Okay, you have 3 zones with 3 levels each in each run. The zones all have a single yeah, see, that's great. Now you know what to expect. There are normal enemies and their elemental variants, and they are distinct in their looks and abilities. There you go. That's good. The baby started crying as soon as they saw it. Yeah, for real. I think it's super rock, paper, scissors. Are you talking about like type effectiveness? I'm okay with it. My problem is not the system in and of itself. My problem is the fact that it's never communicated. And so it feels very, very unfair to the player that you either have to memorize a bunch of stuff and like really deeply internalize what the math of that system is. And but if you don't do those things, it's just mystery nonsense. Oh man. What about an ice dragon? Will it be weak against itself? Yeah, like I don't know. Like I know there's double types. Can you get things that are like opposites of each other? I don't know. I don't know. Can you get a bug fire? I don't know. And then so let's talk about Poke Rogue. Because I think they do a lot of really interesting things. I think the best thing that Poke Rogue does is introduce constraints into the Pokemon formula, and it completely changes the experience. It would be a fascinating discussion to talk about like how constraints make your game good. Based on, what kind of a game you're trying to make. Are you trying to make a cozy game? Or are you trying to make a puzzly sort of game? Pokemon is a puzzly sort of game. So you got like your dual typing here. I like that they're at least declaring it right there. I actually don't know if that is... That's not in like Pokemon Red, right? Okay. Yeah, they didn't have that sort of stuff there. So I don't know when those got added in, or if that's a Poke Rogue invention. What about Pokemon Shield Battle? I'm not seeing... I'm seeing gender, because clearly that's the thing you need to know in a Poke fight, is what gender the enemy is, and definitely not the type of the Pokemon. Ads are starting soon. We'll be right back.
Seeking peace far from home. Obsessed with what and who stole my joy. My fears are dragging me down to the
Okay, welcome back to An Old Man Yells at Pokemon. You can know the type by looking at the actual Pokemon. Sometimes, Karazest, like this guy, I could hazard a guess that he would be Dragon and Lightning, right? That's with me making an assumption. Hold on, Pokemon type chart. Let's keep this up. Like making an assumption that there's no like lizard or anything, because heavens to Betsy, if I'm new, I'm certainly not gonna know what any of these are. So I can kind of guess that's Lightning and Dragon. That makes a certain amount of sense. It would be nice to know for sure before I use an ability on him though. And then also, can I just like know which of my attacks are gonna be super effective or not? But then when we get to like Rayquaza, like, okay, I get Dragon, but why flying? Like, are all things that fly? Are all dragons that fly flying type? I don't think so. Gyarados? Is that a flying type? I know it's not, but like you could imagine that from the... Oh my gosh. Are all Jinx women? Why is gender used in attacks? There's like a tract or something that makes the opposite gender fall in love with you. Fine, it's fair. It's fair. If it's gonna have a meaningful impact on the game though, like, tell me. You know the name, you can Google it? I don't wanna have to be taken out of the game in order to play the dang game. That's a failure. I'm sorry, it just is, unless it's like an ARG or something. It's bad. Wikis exist in like crafting games because like they just don't have the proper systems in place in the game. Like, the amount of games that depend on wikis, that actually leverage wikis intentionally, it's got to be less than 5% of games that actually leverage a wiki as a strategical element, right? As a core part of the game's design. Like, yes, we want to get people online. We want to get them talking to each other. We want to gather them together in this external location. We're going to do X, Y, and Z really cool thing because of that. Like, I guarantee almost nobody is doing that. It's all just because we are bad at our UIs. The Pokédex exists? Great! Let me pull it up here. In fact, I would hope to not have to pull it up. Like, why? Like, this is Arceus. This is like the new one. Why is that? Why is this fan game putting something in here that every Pokemon game should have had? Like, I have no way to tell what freaking Dialga is. Is that a metal dragon? Or no, this one's Dialga. Is that a I don't know, water steel? Horse? God? I don't know. Pokemon is an ARG confirmed. It blows my mind that they brought this in, and it's like I thought that was standard in Pokemon for a long while because it's such important information. It's not in the new games. Why? I don't understand this. But like Pokerogue does a lot of really cool things. That make it more of a game. The like mainstream Pokemon games, because there are no real constraints on anything, you can kind of just do whatever you want on whatever time frame that you want. Farm up whatever materials you need and everything. It's a much softer experience, which means you don't have to really engage with the mechanics very much, which, you know, fair enough. Like, I was talking with somebody on a game analysis Discord, and they said, like, it's because they have a young market, and they need to allow young people to be able to play the games. Fair enough. But then why aren't they making the information easier to get? Like, if it's for young people, why are we forcing young people onto the internet where there's all sorts of crazy nonsense happening in order to get basic information like typing? As a kid with the first game, it was so fun to figure things out by yourself. Yeah, and like, okay, so you bring up a good point, and this is a fine line we have to tread, right? When do we want a game to be about mystery and discovery, and when do we want a game to be clear? Because, like, ideally, you want the best of both worlds, right? You want a game that is enchanting and mysterious and open and discovering, the way that kind of like Vampire Survivors evolution weapons were. Like, that wasn't ever documented anywhere. It was just like, oh my gosh, what is this, right? It was this really cool, impactful thing. But at the same time, after that discovery wears off, you're left with one of two camps. Either people get frustrated, or either people memorize what they need to memorize, or they end up looking stuff up every single time they need to know it, or they just get frustrated and they leave. And like, I don't think either of those are acceptable solutions. I'm convinced there's a better way to do it. Like, you have the Pokédex, right? This is an awesome opportunity. The first time you, or not even the first time you see them, but like, until you discover what they are weak or strong against, these are question marks. Like, why not, right? And then once you discover it, let's plug the information in and make it so that the player doesn't have to remember it. Do you know Pal World has type info on display? Does it really? Pokemon Reborn. I am unfamiliar with Pokemon Reborn. Let's check this out. Third gen style downloadable game featuring all content through Gen 7. Experience an never before seen layer of strategy with all original field effects. Yeah, that's another thing that like feels like they don't really do much of, which is weird because it seems like it should play a big part. Using the terrain to outplay and overwhelm your opponent, collect and train and battle with all 807 species. Okay, so like what is okay, features. All starters available, all monsters through Gen 7 can be found. This is just like more content that's not necessarily like a innovation, right? Original terrain system, I'm curious what that is. 18 gyms, music, customized shine, okay. Wonder trading, I have no idea what that is. Maybe people who are more into Pokemon would know what that is. It's kind of interesting, I'm not seeing any fights in the screenshots. Like, if you're talking about this cool terrain system, show me the terrain system, right? Okay. Sure. Yeah, okay, hold on. We gotta look up a Pal World UI. Gameplay. Okay, images. I know we're an hour in and I haven't touched any code. So where do they have typing? Open image, a new tab. Is it that? Is it that icon right there? Up here, next to their health bars? Ugh, so low res. Tools. Tools. Well, I can't search by size anymore, Google? What? Advanced search? No, really? Lame? It's next to the HP. Okay, good. Yeah, that's where it should be. Great. Hold on, let me catch up on chat. The real reason people like it is because it has type info on display. It's a darker, more mature version of Pokemon, but I haven't played it in a couple of years. Oh, Reborn. Okay, interesting. I actually hate when games just hold your hand, just make a cookie clicker at that point. And Karazis, I think that's fair. I think there's a middle ground, right? I think there's a middle ground of like allowing for the exploration and allowing for that sense of wonder. And then once you have discovered it, taking away the barrier to entry there, right? Creativity is risky. I think you hit it dead on the money there, Owl. I think that is the reason we have not seen a lot of innovation in mainline Pokemon games. Is because they want their money printer. And creativity is risky. Creativity in a market is risky. Also, not having creativity is risky. We're going to talk about that a lot in the video, and how like McDonald's is facing the same problem right now. 2D Fighter, I stopped trying to catch them all when we found out there's more than 150 of them, and they act like they're in new types while being found around cities with internet so strong you can send a living. Okay, Inspector Gadget. So in Pokemon, when you select attacks in a battle, it'll tell you if the attack is more effective or resistant against the opponent. Where? I've never ever seen that. I'm not saying I'm not saying I don't believe you. I'm saying I've never seen that. And that's deeply frustrating to me that I've never noticed that. Because, like, there's this, right? They're saying, yeah, it's super effective. But that's after you've used it. Battle attack selection UI. Because, like, yeah, I'm just used to this. Like, is it the color of the outline? Did I just miss that? Wonder trading is literally just trading Pokemon with others. Why is it called wonder trading then? Hand holding is not the same as providing sufficient information. I agree, Cubus. There were a lot of early games that were difficult. Interesting that that would be a factor now in marketing. Maybe the abundance of easy-to-play games makes the challenging ones less appealing. I could see that. I mean, I think especially the mobile market is encountering that a lot right now, right? Where the market is flooded with games that literally play themselves. I'm not talking about cookie clickers or anything, idle games. I have a lot of respect for idle incremental games. I'm talking about full-fledged MMOs that have an autoplay button. And they just go. The terrain system in Reborn is when the environment affects the battle. So there's a part of the game that takes place in a radiated junkyard. All battles here poison, non-poison types. I think it didn't do anything to poison Pokemon. That's great. Yeah, I love stuff like that. And like that's like shown like in the anime a whole bunch. And I know the anime came after the game and everything, but like still like they had a lot of really cool ideas that for some reason. And I know I believe that there are mainline Pokemon games where there are like terrain effects. But it also seems like they're mostly relegated to like gym battles. So you only ever get that effect like 18 times over the course of like a 100-hour game. Mighty Nate, I think in the beginning of Pokemon, this wasn't as much of a problem because Pokemon types were more obvious and they were a much smaller pool, I'll add. Now they have too many Pokemon, weird combinations of types, etc. Yes, Mighty Nate, 100% agree. Totally agree. You know, I mean, like, let's, hold on. Pokemon Red type chart. Just Pokemon Red. Not when they've got like Fairy and all that weird stuff. No. We're going original. Pokemon Gen 1 type chart. Maybe that'll get me what I'm looking for. Yeah. Okay. This is as complex as it got. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Now, granted, Charizard was a fire type, not a dragon type. That was weird, right? But like, it was a lot smaller information. So there were, what? How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 types. Now there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18? Only 18? That can't be right. They've only added 3 types? No way. Like, I don't know what that thing is. Or that thing. No, I mean, metal, yeah, and water, yeah. But then there's, like, fairy, right? Have they really only added 3? Am I that? Because there's like earth and rock now, right? Oh. Interesting. All right, Inspector Gadget. Hold on. Pokemon Evolution Battle UI. Oh, this is an interesting article. Okay. Forget the other link, use this. Okay. Oh, yeah. That's great. It's not, in my opinion, not the best way to communicate that information, but like it's there. That's great. Awesome. Give me this. This is what I want. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. They've only added 3, Steel, Fairy, and Dark? Man, yeah. Ground and rock. Those were in the original Gen 1. That's so weird. It feels like so much more than that. But maybe that's just because of double typing and stuff. I don't know. Many of those types were rare. Okay. There are much more combinations of types now, though. Okay, interesting. Grumble of Pugs. What we doing? We're having an old man yell about kids these days with Pokemon. Ground and rock were always types from the beginning. Yeah, I guess so. Probably my kid brain just always conflated the two and never separated them. Give them no information, let them suffer. Yeah, we're talking about how like Pokerogue added in typing, and my mystification that has not been in any mainline Pokemon game. Like, when you have stuff like this, why are we not like telling the player what's happening? Like, my goodness. Oh. Yeah, so, now that I have thoroughly pissed off half my audience. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like Hades, not Hades, what am I saying? Sorry, I just got a notification about Hades. I feel like Pokemon has stagnated really hard. Like, really hard. And the only reason I can think of is exactly what Owl in the Bush said, which is creativity is risky, and they are trying to maintain their money printer, and then they're doing cool, weird stuff in, like, their sideline games. And fair enough, they could use those as experiments to see what do they bring into the mainline games. But they're not. And, like, they're not even really improving the UI. Jeez. Geodude was both, and I think that's true about a lot of the first-gen Pokemon. I don't think multiple typing was in Gen 1. Did Pokemon have multiple types in Gen 1? Really? They did have dual type. I want to see, like, a list. Pure flying didn't exist? Really? Flying type was always a secondary type, never a standalone type? What? It's the only gen where one of the starter Pokemon is dual type in its first form. Why did they do this? Who knows, they say. Bulbasaur was poison and plant. And then they went and confused kids further by making nearly all rock, grass, psychic, poison, and ice types into dual types. All ghost types were also poison types, and most flying types were also normal types. How are kids supposed to memorize what was super effective against what? Why not make Geodude pure rock? Why not make Pidgey pure flying? Why not make Oddish pure grass? Why? Yes, this is exactly my opinion. I played all these games. I didn't know any of this. That is my point. A good amount of casual players don't even know the full type chart in terms of weaknesses and strengths, which I think is a point to bring up. Yeah. And it's like, it doesn't have to be that way, right? Like, they could build good visual systems that educate people and help people know how to play the game. And instead, it's just like stuck in this weird, obscure no man's land where they don't say anything about it. Pokemon sucks now, and that's the hill I'm willing to die on. Oh, man. Flying was always normal. But, like, okay, so, like, here's another thing. I just barely learned. Apparently, there are secondary types. Why? Why is that never, like, communicated? Why are we never told there's a primary type category and a secondary type category? Why? The funny thing was that normal type is weak against fighting, but flying was strong against fighting. To be fair, I think most kids playing at that time would just grind weak Pokemon battles to get their main Pokemon super leveled and then just throttle everyone and fight so much. That's exactly what I did, Mighty Nate. 100%. I would stay in the original town and I would grind out a Charizard before leaving. Every single time I played that game. Every time. I would pick Squirtle or Charmander, and I would grind them up to Blastoise or Charizard, and then I would just go Raffle Stomp through the game. And I never had to engage with, like, any of these mechanics. Maybe they're going for the oversimplified design to not overwhelm kids. I think that's a lot of it, Bar. I do. I just think that that's limiting them too much. That combined with trying to avoid market risk, right? I think those two things are really holding them back. And if they want to make stuff more suitable to kids, like there are ways to do this, right? You could add an option in your options menu to say Nuzlocke. Done. And then the people who want a more intense challenge go for it. Like, difficulty settings exist. This is not a weird thing. Helper, assistant things are becoming more and more common. You know, saying like, hey, if you want to, like, this is a game that's meant to be played a lot and to, like, lose a lot, but if you don't really want that, you know, we'll triple your health, right? Like, there's ways to do this. What do you think Charizard's type is? Well, I mean, it's fire, right? And then later on, it got changed to, like, Fire Dragon, I think? That's an RPG thing we grind. Yeah, and, like, it's just, I don't know. That's why I think Poké Rogue is brilliant, is because they remove that freedom, right? And it definitely changes it into a different type of game. Like a 5-year-old is probably not going to want to play Poke Rogue very much. That's fair, you know. But also I feel that the mainline Pokemon games are trying to, if it really is that they're trying to keep it simple for kids, then I think they got to pick a lane, frankly. I think they either need to pick this is for kids or this is for adults and have things that intersect. Because in doing research for this, the people that I see that play the games over and over and over again, or rather that play every sequence of mainline entries, is they do it because, repeatedly they say this, because of nostalgia. Because it's fun, because it feels good, because X, Y, and Z thing. And then if you look up why do people play Pal World, it says gameplay-related things. So Pokemon is leaning into a feeling, which is great. I talk all the time about like emotional impact of game. But I don't think its mechanics are reinforcing that feeling as well as they could. And I don't think the mechanics are being changed in a way that is going to maintain that feeling over time. Pokemon does show if a mon has dual typing in their menus. What, like in the Pokédex? They're also trying to balance out the competitive aspect with the newer credit. And that's, yeah, right, okay, that's the other thing I was going to say, is like the people that really dive into it and spend hundreds and thousands of hours in Pokemon are doing things that are not the main game, right? They're doing things like, I mean, granted, Nuzlocke, right, is maybe one of the big exceptions to that statement. But most of them is like shiny hunting or breeding a perfect IV Pokemon or doing PvP. None of these things are like the main point of the game. I mean, you could say collecting is a part of the game, but like you don't win the game by collecting Pokemon, right? You win the game by beating battles and like against the computer, against gyms, against leaders. And like those things are not a part of that. If you look at that end game compared to like Hollow Knight's end game or something, right? With like their incredibly difficult final platforming dungeon and everything that everyone hates. And then their fighting DLC and everything, right? Like those reinforce the main purposes of the game. VGC is a big factor in Pokemon's design philosophy at times. VGC, I'm not familiar with VGC. What do you mean VGC? It's always been fire and flying. Oh. Okay. It only became Fire Dragon with the Mega Evolution. And that too, just the Black Evolution, not Bolt. Yeah, I didn't know flying. I had no idea it was a flying type. I thought it was fire. I thought it was straight up fire. The status page. What's the status page? Technically, in some Pokemon games, you do get extra stuff for collecting all of them from your region. I mean, you can get extra stuff. I could see that, like a completionist bonus, but that's not how you win the game. Right? Like, me catching Bidoof has zero impact on whether I'm winning that game or not, right? Video game championships. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, and I need to do more research into the PvP world and how the Pokemon Company like intersects with that. Because I know Smash Brothers was downright contemptuous of their competitive community at times. Official competitive Pokemon format. Okay. VGC Pokemon. Video Game Championship Series. Okay, so they have an official thing then. So that's already several steps beyond what Smash Brothers would ever do. Okay. Cool. Also, though, I would also say PvP has nothing to do with the main game. So, like, it's a cool thing that exists, but it's not really what the game is about. Nintendo hates supporting competitive anything, yeah. Pokemon has a few different game loops, but that's normal for an RPG. You can have different loops, but those loops, like, if Pokemon has farming in it, that doesn't mean that, like, farming is, like, what you're supposed to do in it necessarily. Like, that's not going to win you the game unless they build it in somehow, right? Like, in Hades, farming your seeds that you plant, in Hades 2, gives you ingredients that you then level up, or you then spend on upgrading your stuff that you then take into the main fights with you in order to get further. Like, it reinforces the point of the game. It's not like this side thing that doesn't do anything. Most people aren't into competitive Pokemon, yeah. Official Smash Brothers tournament. So, last I heard of this was like the competitive community just doesn't even really consider it. Like it's like begging for scraps at a table. And trying to Google this, I can't even find like a website for it that is by Nintendo. Okay, I'm seeing Nintendov's Challenge Cup December 2023 official rules. It's very low effort in a lot of ways, though. I wish Temtem took off because the game was more interesting than Pokemon from a competitive side, at least. That's rather interesting. If you want to know, I could probably tell you if it's about Smash Bros. When was the last official Nintendo competition? Because like I know they did one at launch of Ultimate, but I followed it for a good while. I followed competitive Smash for a good while after the launch of Ultimate. I don't remember hearing much about official Smash. Yeah. I could just have missed it. Last time there was huge Pokemon hype was Pokemon Go. I don't know. I mean, I think every time they release a new game, there's a decent amount of hype. I mean, Pokemon Go was transcendent, right? Like, we were walking down the street when Pokemon Go launched, and people would yell out of their cars, do, and then we'd yell back, gotta catch 'em all, and then we'd both yell Pokemon, and it was like this cultural event, right? I mean, certainly nothing approaching that, but I think they really do have a fair amount of hype every time they release something. Last Pokemon hype was Pal World. Arceus was the last big thing they did. There we go. All right. We do have ads starting in just a second, by the way. Okay. Nintendo actively shut down Slippy. Yeah, because they hate the Smash Brothers community. That's the impression I get from a lot of people in the Smash Brothers community, is they feel that Nintendo genuinely does not want them to exist. And so I'm kind of surprised Pokemon has an official tournament. Most recent Pokemon games sold the best of every other Pokemon game. Yeah. And that's something we definitely are going to do. Oh, we're in ads. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Fox. What do I say to what's a Pokemon? What do I say about that? Yeah, so I mean, this is all very silly for me to be yelling at about, right? Like, what's the opinion of one random dude on the internet in comparison to the Pokemon Company, who has made billions of dollars based off of the Pokemon IP. Like, right? Like, I mean, all of this is couched in that. This is all according to me, and that only carries as much weight as, like, you know, I don't know, a slotted spoon. In my opinion, the goodwill for Pokemon will not last another generation of individuals unless they start changing things. Now, mark the timeline that I'm saying that, like a full generation of humanity. Like, I think they've got plenty of goodwill to last them a good long while. But if they end up just not continuing to deliver value, they will dissipate. It is the natural order of things. It's what McDonald's is warning about right now when they're saying, hey, low-income consumers are like, they're struggling, or rather, they're starting to feel the pressures of the economy and they're not buying our sandwiches anymore. We're warning our investors, we're warning everyone else. Like, yeah, bro, like, no one wants a $13 crappy chicken sandwich meal from you. Like, that's outrageous. You were supposed to be the cheap one. You were supposed to bring balance to the economy, not destroy it. And the same thing is going to happen with Pokemon, especially as game prices increase, as they should. Game prices should increase. But, I don't know. I don't feel that just adding a new game with a new region and new Pokemon is going to be enough. And I think we're going to see the same thing with Call of Duty eventually. I think we've seen the same thing with EA's sports games, that, like, those all have similar amounts of goodwill and brand loyalty to them, but they're also all falling away because that goodwill is becoming dried up because they haven't been continuing to deliver value and they continue to ask for money. If there was a Pokemon Blue tournament circuit that had online through hacking or whatever, Nintendo would shut it down. They don't want anyone tampering with their stuff at any capacity. I'll agree with that last part, Grumble. Yeah, they are very protective. Very, very protective. Pokemon knows that. That's why they ended Ash's reign in the cartoons. Oh, did they really? Oh, I didn't even know that. Fox coming in with all kinds of hot takes today. I mean, you know, hot takes from a random idiot on the internet. They're worth nothing. They're just my opinions. And you all have your own opinions. And they're all equally valid. But I know economics, right? At least a little bit. I know a very small amount of economics. And what I know is that if you do not provide value to people, they will not provide value to you. I mean, that's basic, you know, money system, bartering, all that sort of stuff. It's exchange of goods. You will not exchange your goods for something that is not of equivalent or greater value. I don't think that Pokemon is going to keep being the dominant force that they are, especially with so many games coming out that are creature tamers that do things in such interesting and unique ways. Like, I really genuinely feel that Pal World is just the tip of the iceberg. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more creature tamers coming down the line, especially with Pal World's success, with development tools becoming so accessible for people. And now with AI-generated stuff coming into the mix through, like, Unreal's stuff, like, it's really only a matter of time before things start progressing pretty quickly, in my opinion. Nintendo is still using online tech from 2005. I think they'll be fine for a while. If you want to hate yourself playing Pokemon, play Pokemon Emerald Chiazo. What's Chiazo? Emerald Hack. Okay. This is a totally honest review. I tried to find a legit copy that didn't turn out to be a virus for a few months, and I finally got one 2 days ago. I have to say the only fun part so far is finding new Pokemon in each region. That's about it. The battles are a joke. There's no strategy whatsoever. It's just figure out each Pokemon's BS gimmick and work around it. We all wanted a more difficult version of Pokemon, but this ROM hack takes it way too far. There are clearly set ways to defeat each trainer, meaning that the game forces you to play a certain way. What is the point of them allowing more Pokemon to be found when any level of creativity is unusable due to how the battles are? I did some tests and the enemy Pokemon's moves are determined after you use your move, rather than prior to the turn as normal, making it even more annoying to work out strategies. It goes on. My goodness. There you go. Basically Pokemon Red, but on hell difficulty. Kaizo. Oh, excuse me. Kaizo is like hacked difficulty. It was a term created by Mario Kaizo. I'm unfamiliar with that individual. Okay, so this is K-A-I Kaizo instead of K-I-A, which is what the ROM hack was. Kaizo Mario, this is the official Wikipedia entry, by the way. Kaizo Mario World, also known as Asshole Mario. Oh, the name of a Mario ROM hack. Yeah, okay. See me on that Pokken tournament. Yeah, like Pokken, that was a really cool idea. I think they could have brought stuff in from that. I don't know. I like Pokemon. I really like Pokemon. I'm kind of pissed off that they just haven't done anything with it. That's it. That's my whole opinion. Oh, man. We've been going for like an hour and a half. Started watching Twitch to watch Mario Kaizo players. Oh, wow. There you go. Okay, so Kaizo is the spelling. K-A-I-Z-O. That's the same thing for the Emerald version. Is Kaizo. Okay, all right, cool, very cool. Hey, I think it's about time we start a poll. I think this fire has died out. I think I've thoroughly pitted every single person against myself. Let's do another poll for what game we should do for our analysis today. We're going to do Turbo Kid, Hades 2, or Poke Rogue. Because I think all three of those could have really interesting things. So there you go. There's our poll. Go ahead and vote over the next 10 minutes. Back a few years ago when Mario World editing was big, there was someone who created 3 games to troll his friend to see if they could beat the game. Well, I mean, that was the same thing with, like, You Want to Be the Boshi, right? Same idea. It's that unfair level of difficulty that people just go through to, like, have that massive feeling of accomplishment by the end. Last fun fact, Kaizo is Japanese for modification, rebuild, and change. Oh, well, there you go. There you go. Jelly, my kids get Pokemon Tekken. All right. I had Pokemon Stadium. I loved Pokemon Stadium. I adored Pokemon Stadium back in the day. Although I just learned today that there was like a campaign mode for Pokemon Stadium? Question mark? I do not remember that being the case, but I saw, like, doing some research, I saw someone, like, walking around in an overworld for Pokemon Stadium. I had no idea this existed. Literally did not know, and I owned the dang game and played it ad nauseum when I was a kid. I did not know there was a campaign. I had no idea there was an overworld. I thought it was just put Pokemon against each other. That wasn't there. So was it Stadium 2 then that brought that in? Because, like, it blew my mind. I was like, how could I have possibly missed that as a kid? You know, this was back in the era of, like, Diddy Kong Racing, where I would explore every nook and cranny of that darn overworld, and we would, like, do hide and seek with each other on local screens. We'd, like, tape up a blanket over half of the screen so you couldn't see where the other person was hiding. You have to go find them. We played those games back in the day. Kind of have to continue the rant at this point, Poke Rogue, all the way. Oh, man. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Okay. My goodness. What a day. What a day. This is what happens when people say, we want to talk about more mainstream games. And, like, I don't have much to say about them that people are gonna like. Like, nah, we gotta do it anyways. You have a unique take. Like, okay. And then everyone gets mad. Let's man, it almost feels weird to go into game dev at this point. Tell you what, I'm gonna take a quick little break just to reset a little bit, and then I think we'll dive into some Poke Road for our last little bit. I think we're talking about Pokemon Coliseum. What? Oh, you're right, Inspector Gadget. This is what I saw on the video that I saw today. What the crap? What's Pokemon Coliseum? So is this... So this is different from Pokemon Stadium. So I'm guessing this was them saying, like, we're going to take Stadium and what worked, and then we're going to kind of build on top of it, and it's going to be such a different experience that it deserves a new name. I'm guessing. Wow. I had no idea this existed. Huh. Wow. There you go. Yeah, Grubble. I thought it was a poker Adelboro game. I would have liked Pokken versus Stadium Pokken is how I vision Pokemon battles playing Red and Blue on the original Game Boy. They also did Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. Wow, what is that name? Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness? Wow, it's so dark. It's so serious. What does XD stand for? Pokemon XD is a successor to the GameCube title Pokemon Coliseum. What? Where'd the Coliseum name go? Where did XD come from? Gale of Darkness was a game. It was edgy Pokemon. It looks like edgy Pokemon. Shadow Pokemon, first introduced in Coliseum, are a major gameplay element, and a Shadow Lugia is featured on the game's box art. Okay. Common criticisms being directed at similarities to and reused assets from Coliseum. Commercially, it was a success, selling more than 1 million copies. Since I mean, that's the thing. Like, once you get big enough, like, you kind of just... You've got a huge community pool of goodwill. There's supposed to be really good games, too, but I couldn't play them. They were okay. XD is fine, just not for kids TV. How could this not, like... What was it that was so edgy, other than just, like, the aesthetic? Like, I'm not seeing anything in the description that says, like, not for kids, right? You have to purify a Pokemon, a Shadow Pokemon when you catch it, sure. Okay. I mean, I'm not really seeing a whole lot about it. That seems very different. I mean, the story is very basic, like MacGuffin, like, hey, there's these shadow Pokemon, and someone's trying to be bad with them. Go stop them. Like, XD equals extra dimension? No! Is it really, Inspector Gadget? Oh, man. You know, Pokemon games now have bad dialogue. Well, where do you think that started? That's hilarious. Wow. Sequel to Pokemon Coliseum. Features a quick battle mode akin to the Battle Now mode of its predecessor, as well as a story mode featuring a brand new plot set in the Ore region. Okay. Experience the extra dimension. Using Shadow Pokemon, an evil organization has unleashed a sinister plot of world domination. With Eevee as your companion, and with the help of numerous friends along the way, you must fight against terrible foes and race against time to snag, purify the Shadow Pokemon, and save the world. So, like, I'm hearing a couple of really interesting things they could have done here. Do multi-dimensional stuff? You could go any number of directions with that, right? I mean, right off the top of my head, freaking Ratchet and Clank with their cool, like, portals going into different, like, do something cool with that. And then you've got Race Against Time, copy Majora's Mask. Like, these are really cool things you can do that is not going to disrupt the core Pokemon formula, but also introduces a lot of interest. Son of a biscuit. Man. To be honest, I have fond memories of those games because it was cool to take your Game Boy Advance Pokemon and put them in 3D. And that's cool. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, changes from Pokemon Coliseum. This is my point, right? This is like the list of changes from Game 1 to Game 2. The main character is replaced. Okay, sure. Saving is now done with the menu instead of having to use a PC. If the way you save your game is the second thing to discuss about how your game has changed from Game 1 to Game 2, that's not enough. I'm sorry, that's my point. That's my entire point. Saving is the feature in the... Jeez. They did that with Sun and Moon, I think, and then with the new games with Pokemon from the future and past. I mean, that's not really like... I don't know. That just feels like more of filling out your Pokédex than it does like an actual way that they change how the game operates, right? Literally transfer your Pokemon from the Game Boy Advance or GameCube. Yeah. No, I remember that whole era. And that was rad. I mean, that was cool. It was a very novel concept back in the day, right? It's still kind of novel nowadays. Even though like there's mobile phone tie-ins and stuff, right? Like I remember when Pokemon Go announced that it was transferring into Let's Go. And, like that was a really cool thing. And they had the Pokeball controllers and everything. I bought a couple controllers. And it was rad. I loved that. So, like, I think there's more space to be explored there, to be frank. Especially with the prolificness of phones. Like, it was different back in the day. Not everyone had Game Boys. Not everyone had every single, console. But, like, now everyone has a phone. That's ripe for companion app stuff. I just play old Pokemon games on my phone now. There you go. Yeah, PCs now have 8 boxes. Like, your inventory is expanded. New feature. Like, no, that's not a new feature. Come on. Just, man, I don't know. Ugh. Definitely did that with Arceus. You're the MC who came from a different era or something. So, like, okay, so what I'm talking about is not necessarily just thematically traveling to different worlds, right? I mean having those, like, that alternate dimension meaningfully affect the gameplay. Because, like, in Arceus, that's not changing the gameplay. That's just the plot. It's like, now we are here. And that doesn't change how I interact with the experience at all, right? Like, if there were alternate dimension portals, gosh, you could even go as low-hanging fruit as Dragon Age Inquisition did, right? With, like, spawn portals of this alternate dimension you have to go run over and plug them up and stuff. Like, come on. So that's my point. That's my big problem with Pokemon. I feel I've beaten that horse to death. I don't know. I think maybe the conversation has run its course as I've kind of staunchly held my ground and refused to meet anyone halfway, as is my idiom. I don't know. I'm sure everyone's very tired of this. But we got talking. I went AFK and I came back to more Pokemon. Yes, John. Yes. And I think it's probably time to leave that at the crossroads. And instead of talking about Pokemon, I think we should play some Poke Rogue. Bloop. That's why I like Pokemon Reborn. It's really crazy with the storyline. Okay. Sure. Okay. Tell you what. Ads are starting up in a couple of minutes anyways. I need to take care of something real quick. We're going to run an ad, and then we'll jump into Poke Rogue, okay? We'll do a run of Poke Rogue, and we'll talk about, like, all the cool things that I think it does to keep all the same gameplay, but then refresh the format through creative use of constraints. And boy, do those constraints make a really big difference. So we're going to go to ads. We'll be right back. Poke John, I'm sorry. You came back right in time for ads. But then there will be no more ads. Banished ads for the rest of your viewing experience for the stream today. So with that, we'll be right back. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being patient. And we will be back. Inspector Gadget? No, I don't think so. We already did the poll. If people wanted to vote, that was the time to vote. I don't want to, like, do a double take. Okay, welcome back. Welcome back. It was unanimous. 3 votes for Poke Rogue. That was it. Too busy blowing Fox's mind with Pokemon facts. Oh, shoot. Okay, let's do some Poke Rogue. Because I do think there's a lot to analyze here, and I think it's really helpful analysis, not only to talk about, like, how has this taken over, like, the internet recently, as well to talk about how by creatively applying constraints, you can completely change how a game feels. Welcome to Poke Rogue. This is a battle-focused Pokemon fan game with roguelite elements. It's not monetized, we have no ownership, etc., etc. It's a work in progress, etc., etc. Okay, we're going to do a new game. Also hilarious, this text that's flashing in and out, it's different every time. It's fantastic. And I don't just mean the number updates. I mean, it's like a different text every single time. So that's very cute and clever. Also, good social proof on this, saying, this is how many battles have been won, to say, like, look, we're really popular. You should like us too. All right. I've done 1 run of Poke Rogue. So you select your team of starters, and this is the first, like, difference. They basically are telling you here in the tutorial, you can make your team, make a team, and you can make it out of a bunch of different gen starters, and kind of go from there, right? And then everything that you catch, you can also put in here, and they will have the best IVs of the best Mon that you've caught, right? So you're incentivized to catch things, which is very clever, because you want them as your starters later on, and you want to repeatedly catch them so that you get better IVs. And if, for those of you who don't know, in case you don't, IVs are basically the stats. And for every Pokemon, there's a set of randomly rolled stats, and they can be wildly different. Like, different IVs can make a big difference. And so you want to capture the best ones you possibly can. You want to capture a bunch of them, because you don't really know what the IVs are until after you've caught them. So I think that's very clever, first off. Very clever. It reinforces the gameplay loop itself. It reinforces the importance of catching. And if you're going into a roguelike, it's very easy to say catching doesn't matter. But by baking catching into the meta progression, as well as the individual fights, I think that's incredibly clever. And then they also have a very clever system here where you build an entire party of Pokemon, not just your first starter. You build a full party with 10 points. You get 10 points to start off with down here, right? So I can take Pikachu, but he's worth 4 Rattatas. Is he worth 4 Rattatas? I mean, probably. I don't know. But, you know. So, very clever in that regard. I hear people in chat saying Gen 9 starters are the most power cracked, so choosing them is the best option. I have yet to do any Gen 9 stuff. So let's go ahead and add these. Why not? Toggle IVs. Oh, okay. So there's your progressive disclosure. Yeah, you can see the chart here, which is a good visualization. I like the visualization. I don't know if mainline Pokemon games have this necessarily. I know Pokemon Go didn't, but that's not exactly a mainline game. From what I understand, they've tried to like hide these sorts of things a lot of the time because they're afraid of giving the player too much information, I guess. I don't know. Should also say there's that many losers. Yeah. So do natures. They affect how the status develop as you level them up. Sorry, Inspector Gadget. I missed this in the correct timing, and I don't know quite what that's referring to. Automat hates Grumble confirmed. The most innocent words again, for real. Yeah. They started that with 3rd gens. Sorry. IVs? They started IVs with 3rd gens? Regarding my name, I got your game. I got character saving, and now you can see the characters you have in the menu. Just need to be able to select them, and then character creator, and I'm done with... Oh, that's super exciting, Alex. I can't wait to see this. So we can kind of see, like, what are these different things? Like, this dude has 31 max HP compared to 10 over here. So, like, I'm going to actually remove this guy from the party. How do I add you to the party? There we... No? How do I remove you from the party? Am I stuck? Okay, jump to the tutorial stuff. Let's go return to title. I guess we'll just restart? Wait. How do I... All right. The visual distribution of the stats. Yeah, I really like that. Because not only does it tell you what the stat is, it also gives you magnitude. This goes into what we were talking about yesterday, or a couple days ago with Jitter, of like having the raw number, frankly, isn't enough. I need to know magnitude, because a 5 could be incredibly small. It could also be incredibly large, just depending on the system in the game. And you don't know it until you've played it a lot, unless you have some indicator of magnitude. And I think that's very well done here. They started that with 3rd gens. Okay, all right. The visual distribution of stats. Gotcha. Which is good. This should be very available. That probably explains why I didn't know about it. I know with Pokemon Go, you had to like have a companion app to check it, but Go is a different thing for the mainline games. I'm not gonna really fault them for that. Go over to where they are in that box. I tried. I can't. It just skips over them. This is me going up and down. I could not find a way to change what I had available. Okay, so we have electric, we have normal, let's get fire. And how many points do we have left? We have 2 points left. What can we get for 2 points? We can get a discount Pidgey or a discount Rattata. Actually, that's got pretty good IVs. Really bad hit points, but... no, it's not terrible. That's pretty bad. How's Rattata? Whoa, those IVs are crazy good? Can I, like, add 2 of them? No, I can't add 2 of them. Bummer. We're going to leave a point on the table now. All right. Yes, begin with these Pokemon. Let's do it. Immediately straight into the fights. Very good. And then the anchoring that you have here is your party. I would like some additional anchoring on this. I think they could take... I know, you all think I'm a Hades fanboy, and I am, to be fair. Hades has a very good system with the weapons, where they say there's like a random status that gets applied to weapons you have not used recently. And if you pick that weapon, you get extra resources from doing it. And I think this could do something similar, right? So you're not always picking the same starting Pokemon every single time. Is your Rattata in the top percentage of Rattatas? But we're straight into the fight. There's no, like, picking a route on a map or anything. You're going to see that repeated over and over again. And this looks very familiar, although we do have typing here, which is one of the big things that started this whole big, long conversation. I need to move myself. Okay. I'm going to hang out with the enemy's Pokemon. All right. Stat changes. This is another really interesting idea. So far as I'm aware, this is not the case in mainline Pokemon games. I don't know if they've changed it recently or not. I've never seen it happen this way. Mothman Centaur, you got it. I've never seen it happen this way, but status effects persist between fights until your Pokemon is recalled, which happens automatically at certain points, or also just when you swap your Pokemon out. I think that's tremendously clever. It is the big problem I've had with Pokemon's battle system, where it's like, okay, I have all these buffs, but like, why would I buff myself up if I can just kill the other thing in one hit anyways? Like, I'm just going to take a turn getting hit. But if I go first and I just smack them, then I just win. Like, why am I taking the time to buff stuff? And it made sense in, like, PvP because it was a lot more balanced. And here it makes sense because now those stats progress over time. This guy, New Zealand, hey! I'm doing very well. How are you doing today, sir? And then they say you can also view the stat changes. I love that. Once again, I don't know if this is a new thing for Poke Rogue or if they introduced this in other areas of the game, but like, as a kid, I also never had any idea of what the impact of what these buffs or debuffs were actually doing. Like, what does minus... First off, it said your defense rose or fell. Like, okay. Like, by a lot or by a little? Here I can tell, oh, it's by 1 or 2. Like, I can at least relatively gauge them against each other. I still don't really know what -2 speed does for me, technically. I don't have a great way to visualize what that -2 means. But, you know, it's at least there. I can at least see the information. Friday, so I can't complain. Well, I probably could, but I'm all right. I'm glad to hear it. Family's doing very well. Thanks for asking. Yeah, we're just doing great. Now, in between each fight, you can see stat changes in Gen 9. It took them till Gen 9 to visualize it. Okay. All right. All right. I'm glad they did it. Glad they did it. I'd like to see how they did it. I'm very curious. This is basically explaining the... Oh, I didn't mean to select that. Great. In between each fight, you get different... You get a store, essentially, and that's a lot of the roguelike side of this, right? All right, let's just smash him. I'm not saying it started in Gen 9. I'm pretty sure it didn't. Oh, you're saying you can at least visualize stat changes in Gen 9. You don't know when it started, though. Okay, that's fair. It's fair. Youchie. I guess we'll swap out, because having a Pokemon get knocked out is really pricey. And we'll talk about that when we get to the end of the fight here again. Just do a normal tackle. I don't want to kill it. There we go. And in this sense, catching is a really intriguing part of the battle, because it happens first every single time, and so you can avoid taking a hit, and that life persists across a fight, or across the entire game, right? It's a roguelike in that regard. Your health does not reset between fights. And so anything you can do to minimize the amount of damage you have is a really powerful experience. So now not only are you trying to think about is this worth spending my turn trying to capture it? It's also like, ooh, my odds aren't necessarily great, but if I don't throw it right now, I think I'm going to be in a worse situation. Like, my guy's not going to survive another round. I got to go, right? I think that's a much more interesting decision to have to make. All right. So we got Cottony. That's the first time we've seen it. We're getting our experience, and now we have our store. So we have things we can buy. So we can, like, buy potions to heal our dudes up. Definitely going to do. Cost 38 Poke Monies. And we have 1,000 you can see up here right above me. In fact, it looks like this is a little bit too wide. I'm going to bring that in just a smidge, 1 metric smidge. And then we have kind of a relic we get to pick. It's either like a sort of a relic or a consumable item. Like, we can get Great Balls that will let us catch things better. We can cause certain Pokemon to evolve with the Sunstone. We can raise critical hit ratio if your HP is below 25%. Right? These are kind of interesting, compelling things. I'm going to go for the Sunstone. I don't... See, and this is another thing. Causes certain Pokemon to evolve. There's now a mystery there. Like, that's cool. But, like, is it going to let me give a Sunstone to a Pokemon that doesn't want it? Won't have any effect. So why don't you tell me what you're going to have an effect on? Why are you letting me select all... Whoa! The Sunstone applied to Cottony? Okay. I never would have guessed that. Why could I... Like, don't let me select the things that I don't have an option for. Zudo! Welcome in. Thank you so much for the raid. How are you? How was your stream? Welcome on in, everyone. It's good to see ya. Feel free to raid and run, but would love to hear how things went and what you were up to and everything. I don't believe I've had the pleasure of stopping into your stream before, so let me know what all is going on. While you're typing that out, welcome on in, everyone. Foolbox, of course. So normally we do software and game dev here, where I'm building a superhero dexterity roguelike and working on polishing the core experience for that. Today we got started talking about Pokemon, though, and how I dislike its design very heavily. And now we're playing Poke Rogue to do design analysis of how Poke Rogue changes things, how they add constraints for the player, and that completely changes the game experience. Fox here is speedrunning how to alienate all the audience. Yeah, pretty much. Okay, so we just got an evolution. Very cool. I love that. That's like one of the most compelling things for me about Pokemon is evolutions. You're streaming Godot. Then Foolbox sent the raid here. Very cool, Judo. Let's send the shout out here. What were you building in Godot? I'm assuming game dev. I'm assuming you're building a game for yourself, maybe? But I'd love to hear all about it. If you were wanting to stick around, I totally get you rated. That means you're done. You need to go do things. So you feel free to head on out. Cool. And then one thing that I think is really powerful, which they could have chosen to do, and they very wisely chose not to do, which is they could have had a whole Slay the Spire style map and making choices and everything. Instead, they're just moving you into the next fight. I think that's really strong. Just getting you into the core loop and minimizing the friction to what the game really truly is. I think that's a good idea, frankly. Let's not swap. Well, I mean, I already said not swap, so I guess we'll not swap. Inkay only evolves into Malamar if you turn the system upside down. Shut up. That's not true, Inspector Gadget. There's no way. Please. Listen. I may not know a lot about Pokemon, but there's no way that's true, right? I cannot turn my computer upside down. Hold on. No. Inkay, Malamar, evolution. No way. No way. In Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. No! Okay, so they have the Switch. Okay, that actually makes sense. This was built for the Switch. While it levels, you have to be holding your Switch console upside down. Yes, you need to take it out of the dock. You can level it from battling or using candy, but the Switch has to be inverted when it levels. Wow, that's wild. That's crazy pants. Okay, making a simple 2D game on mobile, my first Godot project. That's awesome, Zudo. Trying to keep it simple and build a complete game from start to finish. Good for you. Good for you. Hold on, I'm going to add you to my spreadsheet. I have a spreadsheet where I keep track of what everyone is working on. because I have a terrible memory, but I'm deeply interested in what everyone is interested in, or what everyone is building. Okay, so it's a 2D game on mobile. Is it like a dungeon crawler or something, or what kind of game is this? What kind of game? Does it have a name? I could be. It's true. Foolbox. He's our native upside down box. Queen Anne, hello. The stream is going very well. I am yelling about Pokemon and everyone's disagreeing with me, so it's going great. Yeah, how are you doing, Queen Anne? All right, so I'm going to try and catch him. What? He got out of that? For real? All right. Big meanie. All right. So that transition screen is really smart too, with like the regular Pokeball and the Great Ball and everything. So you get a hint of what the rarity is before you see it. You see that all over the place in a lot of gacha games, especially. You get like the light burst of, oh, this is going to be something cool. It gets you excited and hyped up. Very good little detail. There are also times, I don't know if we'll get to see it or not, where it will kind of like the ball will evolve into a higher rarity ball, right? And so it makes you feel very lucky. We have this luck stat up here that reinforces and everything. It's good feeling. That evolving a normal upgrade into a higher rarity upgrade feels really good. It feels very empowering and lucky. Okay, so let's go ahead and heal up our Rattata that we just got. And then increases the attack of all party members by 1 stage for 5 battles. I don't know what 1 stage is. Does that increase it by 1? Or like by a letter ranking? If so, what does that mean? Some of us are teaching Fox about Pokemon to pay him back for all the things he's taught us about game dev. Ah. And then we can double the chance of an encounter being a double battle for 5 battles, which I believe the end effect is you get more options for which things to catch, and you get more experience from them across a wider distribution of your Pokemon. I think those are the main benefits, but I'm not sure. Let's try it out. Got a lot of world building done last night. Hoping to get some writing based off of that work. Oh, that's super cool, Queen Anne. This is for your puzzle platformer? That's very cool. Let's go to Whimsicott and try and level it up because it's evolved. So, Whimsicott, how is that not an anus? Okay. We'll just absorb. Critical hit. Good job. This is another problem I have with a lot of this UI is that, like, I want to know what the move is going to do before I use it, you know? It kind of frustrates me that I kind of have to just know what the move does. An animal feeding game. It's a game with some slingshot mechanics where you feed items to different animals. Okay, very cool. Hold on, I'm going to add that to my sheet. Based on the item, you either lose or win reputation with the species. And after X number of item throws, the day is over. And if you reach the reputation threshold, you cleared the level. Oh, that sounds nice. Nice and simple little dexterity puzzle. I like it. I like it. You have to get a chunky squirrel. That's the plan. That's the plan. Squovit. Sounds like a swear word, you know? Whoa, look at that max HP and attack. Ooh, that's pretty good. Maybe I move over here and then flip. Flip horizontal. Maybe that's where I live. The puzzle platformer. Wow, lot of story going on in the background that isn't directly touched on, but it's important for me to know so I can hit. She's good for you. So we're kind of going for like Dark Souls, environmental, implicit type sort of storytelling. Very cool. All right. Yeah, let's definitely get rid of this level 3 Rattata. We do need more Pokeballs. Let's buy this potion and get our Squovit back up. We could revive, but that's like half of our money. I don't think we want to go for that. Let's just get some Pokeballs, and then we'll probably just get rid of Whimsicott eventually. I'm all confused. Foxy looks different now. It's a whole new world. All right, you take care, Zudo. Thanks so much for hanging out. Thank you for the follow, and thank you for the raid. I appreciate it. Thanks for being here. I don't recognize you. How about a battle? Last Katrina would like to battle. Okay. Katrina sent out Whirlpool. So, like, this kind of goes into what we were talking about of how Pokemon is kind of catering to a younger crowd while also trying to be... I just tried to catch a trainer fight. Trying to be relatable to older audiences as well that want more of a game. And, like, this sort of a situation, I'd never worry about it in the mainline games because I would just grind up. But here, like, I have to live with the choices of my consequences a lot more directly. I think it's a lot more powerful to add in those constraints. At least from a, like, game design perspective of designing a good puzzle, right? Raise your right hand. Yeti Doc Phil, hello! Good to see you over on YouTube. How are you doing today? Ooh, we got an Ultra Ball. Big Nugget. Moderate amount of money. Or we can revive a Pokemon. Or restores 25% HP if HP is below 50%. I could go for Big Nugget. Yeah. We have a level 4 against a level 5 Squovit. Yeah, let's swap out. Let's go to, I don't know, Lechonk? Sure. Can't tell if you're trying to trick me now. Oh, that's funny. Disarming Voice. That did very little. Jeez. That is one thing I noticed in this last run that I did before getting on the stream is, like, it feels like the difficulty ramps up really quick. Like, there is definitely a curve to this that I do not quite understand. Chatot has a move called Chatter. When it first came out, you could use the DS's mic to record a bite that would play out whenever it was used. The higher the pitch, the higher the chance of confusion. That's hilarious. That's amazing. Wow, that's a really good Squovit. That's way better than my Squovit. Welcome to the team, friendo. Yes, we're going to release our other Squovit. Well, let's release Whimsicott, because we're not going to revive that thing. It's way too expensive to revive. Doing good, just watched a thin guy get 105 roasts get thrown in his face, says Yeti Doc Phil. That is a sentence I didn't expect to hear today, Yeti Doc. Yeah. But I'm glad you're doing well. How many Pokeballs? So it's good here. We have receive Pokeball times 5, inventory 4, right? So they're letting me know what do I already have so I can make an informed decision. Otherwise, I would expect a way to be able to open my inventory and check it. If I couldn't have either of those things, then I will very rarely know when to take this. Let's take the lure. We haven't had any double fights yet. So we have a Cherubi and a Caterpie. Let's swap out our Rattata for our Fuecoco. Do we want to swap out Squovit? Yeah, let's bring Pawnee back in. I have no idea if Pawnee's, like, good against anything. Pokemon type chart. See, and this is my problem. This is why I don't like wiki games. This is why I don't like crafting survival games, because you're always jumping out into a wiki. Okay, it looks like there is nothing corresponding there. Okay, good. There is that Dark Souls kind of storytelling, but also a more direct form of storytelling, too. There's a lore entry mechanic as well. You unlock entries by getting collectibles and levels. Sure, you help translate them into a form you can understand. Very cool, Queen Anne. Very cool. Pawmi isn't a good Pokemon in general, even when it evolves. Okay. Like, I understand that that's kind of a meta thing, right? But there's also times when it's not a meta thing. And that's another big problem I have with Pokemon, is they have this big roster of stuff that, like, is really cool. And then you have no idea, like, what is cool or not until you've gone through it. And I never liked systems like that. So, like, you know, Zigzagoon could turn into a giant, like, giant sloth bear monster thing that obliterates everyone. It could also never have an evolution ever, and there's just no way to know. I hate that. This Caterpie looks like it's suffering. we put it out of its misery, Foolbox. It's fine. Starfberry. Sharply raises a random stat if HP is below 25%. Interesting. And then we have Golden Punch. Grants 50% of damage inflicted as money? What? That's outrageous. That's so ridiculous. Holy crap. When money directly translates into healing and you have access to money-based healing every single fight, that's crazy. All right, I'm your rival. You thought you could get out of here without talking to me? I'm gonna come back and fight you a bunch of times. Okay, great. Ember? 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 Let's just do another Ember. Okay. Tackle. And then Ember. Ooh, that was close. Okay. Good. Got to level up. That's good. Learned Round P. What's Round P? Oh no, he went first! Darn it! I'm going to be in your corner for this one, actually. It's hugely problematic to have 1,000 options in a game if only 50 are viable. Yeah, I agree, Queen Anne. And, like, I think there's a space for, like, less effective or meme things, right? I just want it to be very clearly communicated. And that's my problem. Because I remember, and once again, I don't know if this is something that they fixed in more recent generations, but playing as a kid through games, it was like, I would spend ages trying to level up Pokemon that had no evolution. I had no idea they didn't have an evolution, and it was a huge waste of time. All right. Cool. I'm definitely not doing very well right now. We've got a super experienced charm and an experience all. I don't know what those are, and this is one big problem I have is I have no way to see what these relics do. Oh, I can use the mouse. Okay. But they have like an exclusively keyboard-based interface. I can't mouse over any of these other things. And now they want you to mouse over this. Like, that's weird. Like, don't make me do that, please. Non-participants receive 20% of a single participant's... Okay, so experience starts to get shared across the party. Increases gain of experience points by 60%. Wow. That's not even on a turn limit. That's just straight up, you get that much more experience now. That's why I stopped playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Oh, interesting, Inspector Gadget. Waste of time. It's Pokemon bonding. And that's the thing, like, you could bring it in, right? Like, you could say, if you have built up bonds with different Pokemon, and you have so many bonds, then the game rewards you in some way, right? Like, that wouldn't even be changing the main mechanic. It would be reinforcing the main mechanic, because Pokemon is all about a story of empathizing with each other, and learning about each individual's strengths and weaknesses, and leveraging, and, you know, building a team, right? Like, it would reinforce that so heavily instead of what you have right now in Pokemon, which is like, I'm just going to get my Charizard and then just go win. You know? I don't know. Let's go ahead and heal up. We got a lot of money. Do I want to revive? Revives are just so expensive. Let's get a candy. And I guess we'll level up Pawnee. Yeah, we'll keep Squovit. It's not just a balancing problem about having, like, Raticate that has no niche and isn't supposed to have a niche. It's just an early game option that's bad overall. Yeah, I agree. You know, unless, once again, you're going to clearly communicate to me the point of this Pokemon is not to win. The point of this Pokemon is something else. And if you bring in, like, a bond system, right, all of a sudden, you're incentivized to use those things that are less efficient and less optimal in interesting ways. Like, they could do things that would not really intrude on the main gameplay if they wanted to, but they don't want to. And I don't exactly know the reason why. We can debate and postulate as much as we want, but at the end of the day, we don't know until we like are talking with the designers and executives of the games, right? Let's use that. We'll quick attack the Skitty to get them off the board. We've seen 3 Squovits this time around. That is rough. That's a lot of Squovits. I think we gotta swap out. We're taking too many knockouts when knockouts are so expensive to recover from. Okay. Here's the other thing. Pokemon, if you want me to use status effects, don't have regular attacks normally doing more than 50% of things' health. I'm never going to care unless there's a good reason for me to. Like, geez, if I spend the time buffing myself up, I take 10% less damage and I get hit for 70% of my health. That is not equivalent exchange. Alchemy would be very upset about this. Oh. All right. So we're getting some level ups. I don't think we're going to go very much further, to be honest. We're not doing so hot. Oh, Matrify. Yes. Yes, we need that. We need to get things back in the fight here. And so I am going to... we're going to leave our Lechonk out, but we're going to revive these guys for sure. Okay. A Bidoof boss, because that makes sense. Let's bring in a Pawnee. And, like, I want to know what Thundershock does, because sometimes it doesn't hit, and can I do Shift? No, that only does the character stats. M for moves? No. I guess we'll just scratch? I don't know. Okay, its defense is +1. We're going to swap out now. I don't want to sponsor another revive, please. Let's bring out our Squovit. Oops. And bite. Oh, jeez. Fuecoco, I guess. Round? I don't know what round does. Seems good. Can I catch you? I can catch bosses. Hey, we're fighting against God Bidoof. We caught God Bidoof. So that's good. I mean, the IVs are, like, fine, but nothing really special. Sure. Great. We got ads. Oh, goodness. All right, welcome back. Oh, we got the camera freaking out again. All right, there we go. Oh, right, we're swapping it out. We caught this guy, and we're going to swap out Lechonk. Yeah, let's swap out Lechonk. That was only that much experience? Jeez. Like, that was a tough fight. We got very little experience. I was going to say that, too. Most people don't vibe with, like, Tail Whip. There are reasons for that. You just named a few, but at the end of the day, it doesn't feel good unless you're doing competitive-only strats, maxing stats, and then using Baton Pass. Yeah, I agree, Queen Anne. In the competitive space, it starts to make sense when there's more constraints and more balance around things, but, yeah, like, I think I can count the amount of times I've used a buff or a debuff and it actually mattered in a Pokemon game, like, on one hand. Now, what they do in here to be very clever is that your status effects persist between fights. So debuffs are still a little dubious to me, but buffs, like when they affect me, I care about them much more deeply. Okay. Yeah, I have no idea what round P is. I don't know why it has a parentheses around the P. I don't know what round is. I mean, it's got a high number. You have the time to watch this, watch it. It's Dorkly's spoof on the Pokemon games. It's where God Baidu came from. Just an FYI, it might be, rate this a PG-13. Yeah, I have seen some Dorkly stuff. And like, see, this is an interesting point for me. I was going to do another attack to end it, but I was like, but I could throw a ball and get a 100% chance of going first with a certain percentage chance that I miss, and he gets a free attack on me. And I think that's worth going for to spare myself. Very cool. I feel very rewarded by that. I feel like I made a very smart decision. Boy, lots of defense, lots of speed. Okay. Lots of hit points, too. Just like no attack. This is the tank. Wow. Yeah, let's get rid of Squovit. I need to watch people that are really good at Poke Rogue to understand what the flow of this game is supposed to be, because it kind of feels like you're always going to be catching out of what you have. Like, sticking with something feels like it's going to be kind of rare. Which feels kind of anti-Pokemon to me, you know, when it's all about, like, friendships and building teams and, you know, feeding your Pokemon into the disposable candy machine, like in Pokemon Go, is kind of antithetical for me. I studied status ailments very closely for a tabletop RPG I designed a little bit ago. I could literally talk about them all day. Nice. Nice, Queen Anne. We'll have to do that sometime. Okay. So between Metapod and Kakuna, you 100% go for Metapod. So we're definitely going to try and catch Metapod. We're just going to quick attack Metapod down. Yeah, I thought that would one-hit KO Kakuna. Okay, lots of it. 238 between the two of them when Boss Baidu gave us 52? Where's that balance? Yeah, what does charge? Boost the power of the electric move it uses on the next turn. Also raises the user's special defense stat. I don't know. I guess Growl kind of sucks. And then this whole screen while you wait for the experience to go through feels like it could be sped up a lot. I get that they're like being very loyal to the way that Pokemon feels and works, but I feel like speeding that up a little bit wouldn't be a bad thing. If you ever need to introduce status effects in a project, let me know. Right on. Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely be doing status effects for Overload. So we'll definitely have to do that. Okay, now we'll try and catch Metapod. Wait. Oh, it's a trainer fight? Oh, lame. Boo, I took like an extra attack. Mr. Crippy, do you do game dev or do you play Pokemon? So we do game dev. what we're doing right now is how we close off every stream, which is we play some popular game that's going around right now or something that I find particularly compelling or interesting. And we talk about why it's working, what isn't working about it. And we try and break it down in order to understand how do we apply those principles to our own projects. So normally we do all sorts of game development. I've done GameMaker, I've done Godot. We're working on a project right now, which is a superhero Dexterity roguelike, which I'm sure you saw in the title. But we're near the end of the stream right now, so we're in our analysis phase. You can speed up the game in the menu, I'm pretty sure. That would make sense. I don't know. I want to keep animations, like the fight animations, the same speed. I just want to speed up the, like, scrolling. Like, why can't we just have the whole party slide out and say plus 46 to the whole party and then go away, you know? Let's get a great ball, but where's our party at? No, don't skip taking an item. We're actually doing pretty healthily on things. Let's get some great balls. I never got into Pokemon at all. It's not very popular here, and it never really caught my eye. Oh, interesting, Alex. I don't know, round again, I guess? Like, the only thing that I have that's telling me to use round is that it has a higher base attack value, and that kind of feels weird. Like, I wish I knew more about the attack, right? Ooh, that's pretty good, IVs. Yeah, let's replace our Rattata with that. That feels good. Okay, getting some good level ups. Ukraine, of course, everyone knows what it is, but it's not a big thing. Interesting. Okay, we need basic Pokeballs. We're totally out of basic Pokeballs. No, we don't want to swap. We want to get evolved Fuecoco. Jeez. Oh, those damage ranges are so wildly large. Okay. Let's just go to Bidoof then again. We'll do a Bidoof v Bidoof. Okay. There we go. Interesting sound effects. Bidoof learned rollout. Cool. Lumberry cures any non-volatile status condition and confusion. What does non-volatile status condition mean? So if we were going to apply like modern day game design to this, once again, I know that they're operating within the constraints of classic Pokemon, but if we're going to bring in modern day stuff, non-volatile status condition 100% needs to be like in brackets with a different color, and then you can mouse over it and see what all those conditions are. Ember has inherently more power and damage since it's a fire type attack. When Pokemon use moves the same type as them, they gain a boost in power called Stab, same type attack. I didn't know that. When did they teach you that? It's not in the UI, that's for certain. My goodness. Yeah, what is non-volatile? I don't know. I hate to spend this, but I kind of want Fuecoco to be kind of like the main character here. And then let's heal up our Zigzagoon, I guess. We're actually going to go back. We're going to buy just some normal potions for Fuecoco and Bidoof. And then we'll take the super potion on Zigzagoon. Okay. Yes, swap out. We're going to go back to Fuecoco. And then Ember. Covet? Wait, I'm sorry. Did a raccoon just hurt me? Through coveting? Is this emotional damage? What was happening there? Sometimes normal Pokemon get a stab for normal type attacks. Sometimes they don't. That can be an except. Okay. Yeah, like this is what I'm talking about. There's so much going on in Pokemon that is completely hidden, and it is deeply frustrating. I mean, this is a cool one. I don't necessarily want to get rid of anything for him, though. Sounds like you should make a video talking about how Pokemon isn't the most intuitive for beginners. Yeah, I mean, it's not intuitive at all. But, yeah. Jeez, that would be such a rabbit hole. Because I'm sure we're just at the tip of the iceberg in terms of, like, what are all these hidden mechanics. Like, okay. Oh, jeez. Here's another UI thing. What type is this monster? I don't know. Unless I know it, I'm not going to know it. Why do I get detailed stat information, but not types? You were doing so good, Poke Rogue. Type is Fuecoco. Pure fire. Okay. All right. Goes for any Pokemon that uses the same type attack as their own, one of the perks of having dual type Pokemon. I think there's an NPC in the Pokemon school that talks about it. But, like, this is important stuff to know. Why are you hiding it behind one random NPC in one location? They don't call it stab, just that the attack would be like, I mean, that's fine. Stab's a weird acronym to have in a Pokemon children's game, right? But, like, you need to give me some indication that that's going to be the case. Because, like, if I don't know that and I'm picking moves, like, that matters, right? It matters to be able to say, like, oh, this is a fire, even though it's maybe a lower number. Ideally, I should know what the real number is going to be, and then I can swap out something that is relevant. Like, it's just, why are we hiding this? There's ways to display this that do not cause problems, right? Like, you can have your damage number be the different color with a little up arrow, and that tells you it's buffed, right? It's better for some reason, right? Like, there's so many ways you could display this without increasing cognitive load. Like, I don't understand why we're hiding all these things. I think it'd be better if you played an actual Pokemon game so you could analyze even better. It's true, Nicholson. The problem is they're all super expensive and on systems that I don't own. So we need to, like, find a way to give me access to something. Okay. Let's go ahead and heal Fuecoco, I guess. That's 20. No, not Baidu. Fuecoco. There we go. Let's increase our critical hit ratio. Fight. We're going to do another Ember, because, like, why not, I guess? I guess that's our best idea, although I don't know. You can get the pixel art era games for PC for free nowadays, though, on PC too. Legally? Yeah, because if we're talking like emulators, then that's not really an option. Not to stream them. No, I don't think we'll want to swap them out. Yeah, like I can, I can't stream an emulator. I dare not. I believe that the idea behind that was that when Pokemon was first made, they wanted the player to talk with everyone when it was first time you played it, but then you had the choice of not having to talk with them on your other playthroughs. I mean, it followed in the same vein as like Final Fantasy, right? Like Pokemon was hugely innovative Final Fantasy when it was first released, right? It was, we're going to do a JRPG, but in the twist is that you don't have a party full of narrative characters, you have creatures that you have tamed. Really cool idea, right? And that idea of like having a town full of NPCs that you talk to, like that's been done all the way back to Dragon Quest 1, Final Fantasy 1, all these different spaces. So, like, I understand that that was kind of a convention of the time. But hiding crucial gameplay information behind a random NPC that you may not ever talk to on accident is bad. That is bad design. There is no way around that. I'm sorry, it's just bad. And it's equally and triply more so atrocious that they haven't amended that in recent games. Why don't I get to see what is actually happening? Why do I have to just, like, muddle through this and not I don't know. Were you aware that there's a random range each attack has? That's something I had to find out the hard way. Random range, as in, like, damage numbers from low to high? I kind of intuitively always assumed that, but I can't tell you what the range is. And when you said that, it made me realize, oh yeah, they don't ever actually like tell you what that power range is. And as long as it's a standard deviation for all attacks, I think I'm okay with that. Damage numbers have a bit of variance. Yeah, okay. And, like, I'm okay with that. And I'm okay even with them maybe obscuring that information to make it more approachable, saying power 60, right? But I want to make sure that that variance is consistent across all attacks, right? Because what happens if I go for something that's really high power, but then has a much wider range? And I don't know what that range is. Like, that's me. I can't make a reasonable decision based off of that. Uh-oh. No, confusion. Let's use some lower stakes things. Like, I don't know why I would ever use Scratch over Quick Attack, right? They're the same power, but I have come to understand, because I've played the games, that Quick Attack is going to go first. Like, that's another thing. Speed. What speed are all these attacks? And I can understand hiding it. I really, truly can. I can understand bringing progressive disclosure in. But you have to give me a way to see what it actually is. Give me some way to request more information. Or turn it on by default. Like, yeah. I agree, especially when they stop the game progression until you talk with everyone first. It really slows things down, and there are times when you're like, who did I miss? Yeah, and like, especially if they're going to gate progression behind it, how many people are actually going to read? As a product designer, I can tell you how many people are going to read. The correct answer for how many people are going to read your product is 7 people. Regardless of how many people you have experiencing your product, it's always 7 people. People don't read. So, why are we hiding it behind reading? All right, what are we learning? Covet. The user endearingly approaches the target, then has a 30% chance to steal the target's held item. How do I even know if they have a held item? Let alone how often that happens. Like, it feels like that's probably almost never. Jeez. I don't know, because Growl seems to be awful. We'll replace it. I'm just getting more and more grumpy, man. This is why I haven't played Pokemon games in so long, because it's just so unnecessarily hard and hostile to the player, it feels like. No, don't knock him out! God. Oh, okay, so if I were designing Poke Rogue, I would definitely make reviving more expensive, but not nearly as expensive as it is. Because when the damage variance can be like almost nothing to your entire health bar, like it's just so random whether you're going to go through it or not. Okay. Especially when you have all this like random fluff conversation that doesn't actually matter. Like, I'm not gonna read all that. And I'm a big proponent of reading all sorts of stuff in games. I guess we'll level up Pawnee, I guess. There are moves that have priority and moves that do not. It looks like Quick Attack on paper is worse than anything with 60 power, let's say, but it always goes first, and that's important to know. Yes, it's super important to know. And Nuzzle is great because you can paralyze people, which is crazy. Let's get rid of Scratch. Ooh, Zubat. Actually, sorry. What? No, I just wanted to see what type Zubat was. No, I didn't mean to not swap. Owl in the brush, you got it. Okay. Whomp. There we go. Okay. Boy, Disarming Voice did nothing. What about Echoing Voice? Better, I guess? What about Tackle? Ah, sheesh. Okay, Echo Voice seems better. Okay, good. We didn't hurt ourselves. Now we can try and capture. Feeling good about this. Flying and Poison. Yeah, I mean, thanks, Inspector Gadget. It was just... I wanted to know what those were when I was picking my Pokemon so that I would pick an appropriately typed Pokemon. And so I wanted to go back and see what they were. But then going back told the game, oh, never mind, I don't want to swap my Pokemon out, which was not my intention. My intention was, wait, hold on, let me actually see what I need to swap to. That's a really good IV Zubat, though. Jeez. Yeah, we're definitely going to release for that. Let's kick Zigzagoon out. I feel your pain. Oh, man. So, like, so many of these things are pretty low-hanging fruits, in my opinion. Like, I have to imagine the designers of these games being talented professionals with tons of resources and all sorts of, like, review systems and everything in place, like, are aware of these things. I have to imagine they're aware, and they're deciding not to do these easy, low-hanging fruit types of things, like adding typing to the fight. It just, I'm really flabbergasted as to why they have chosen not to act on it, you know? It's very strange to me. Don't. Yes, good. Do it again. No! Yes, snapped out. Good. Wow. And what is that thing that comes out above here? Fuecoco's Blaze. Like, what does that mean? I've seen that come out every now and again, and it seems like it means they get a, like, stronger version of their attack, but I have no idea what it is or when it happens. Blaze is his ability. What? Do Pokemon have passive special abilities? This is another thing that I have no clue about. His ability just makes his fire moves stronger when at 30% health? Why is the game not telling me these things? Like, why is it not saying, hey, you have fire moves here that are like in a threshold. I'm going to highlight them and say, look, this is a special thing. You're going to want to use it. Look how cool it is now. Why are we just being so hostile to the player? Each Pokemon has a passive? Where do I even know? How do I find that out? Summary? Yo, this screen that doesn't even show up when you catch the dang thing? Right? I don't think this screen comes up when you catch stuff. And that may just be Poké-Rogue. That might just be Poké-Rogue. But I have played like 5 full Pokemon games and never known about passive abilities. Powers up fire-type moves when the Pokemon's HP is low. Oh, and it's not even going to tell me the... Okay, whatever. If you're not going to tell me what the percentage is, fair. But for sure you need to tell me when it's activated. My goodness. Like, you can be vague, but then when we're in the game, show me that the passive has turned on. Bashful Nature, apparently met at level 5 somewhere you can't remember. Okay, I don't know what that means. Cool. Okay. Pokemon can have multiple passives? They can have it once? Okay, that's just Poké-Rogue. Okay. Not at once as in at one time. But 3 different abilities for the same... So like, it'll be like a random one from a pool. Abilities came out in Gen 3. Oh, interesting. Okay, okay. See, that's a good example of innovation. That's stuff I want to see. I think that's a great step to take. Bulbapedia link for abilities. Take a look here. Introduced in Gen 3 that provides a passive effect in battle or in the overworld. Individual Pokemon may have only one ability at a time. Okay. Cool. Some of them are hindered. Great. I think that's rad. I think that's very cool. I think having negative effects really incentivizes you to catch multiples of the same thing. It does also distance you from, like, the emotional connection. But, you know, I mean, whatever, right? All right. Take care, Queen Anne. Thanks for hanging out. It was great being here with you. Thank you. I appreciate the kind words. Let's go to Pawnee, because theoretically, electrical will be strong against this rollout ability, right? So that one's on me. All my friends don't get it when I lay down my hot takes, so I know the feeling. All right. Take care, Queen Anne. Use a fighting type move? I mean, sure. If I had any. I don't have any fighting type moves. And to be... Sheesh. This is probably where the run's gonna end. In my opinion, this is where the design of Pokemon starts to falter in the same way that Mega Man a lot of the times falters, where it's very heavily typed, and so you kind of have to just like you have to get things in a very specific order in Mega Man in order to be successful in that game. But the game doesn't really tell you what that order is, so you don't know until you kind of experimented with it a bunch. And it's a similar sort of thing here with Pokemon, where like you need fighting types to beat normal types, but you don't end up finding fighting types until like way later on in the game after you've already fought all the normal types. Use a fly Pokemon if you haven't. Sure, if I had one. Yeah, let's replace Squilvet, I guess. And so that's the problem. It's like, yeah, there are counters, but the game is not paced in such a way that allows me to actually take advantage of them until it doesn't matter anymore. Okay. Others can join in the round to increase the power of the attack. That's another really important thing to know about what round does. Why can't I see the description in the fight? Like, is there just, like, some special way to get fighting moves and fighting types early on in the game, and I just am unaware? Because it kind of feels impossible. All right. Well, it just quit us out. I don't know why. In any case, that seems like a pretty good spot to end here today. Thank you so much, everyone, for hanging out. What a joy this has been. I have just had a tremendous amount of fun. This has been great. We're going to go ahead and jump into a place where you can hang out and not be assaulted by anti-Pokemon propaganda. We're going to go... Oh, thank you, Inspector Gadget. Thank you, Owl. Thank you, Poke John. So great to have you all here. It's been such a joy. Let's go ahead and jump into... let's see. Let's go to Indie Gamiacs. They do all sorts of indie spotlighting and everything, and they're doing some rad stuff. We're going to hang out with them for a little bit. It'll be a similar vibe as to what we've been doing here, just barely. So... Thank you so much for hanging out, everyone. For those of you who are new, we are a charitable enterprise devoted to helping people enter the game industry. If that sounds like a good time to you, if you like analysis and game dev and all that sort of things, you can like, follow, subscribe wherever you're at. And my kid is going to scream, so I'm going to go head out and be a dad and take care of this thing. You all have a great time, and we'll see you tomorrow.